What really happened in the 2020 election? That's the question that has sparked countless debates, controversies, and investigations. The 2020 U.S. election stirred up a storm, with allegations of voter fraud taking center stage. Key players in this saga include former Attorney General William Barr, former President Donald Trump, and Wisconsin's Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, just to name a few. These figures, among others, raise concerns about potential vulnerabilities in the voting process, particularly in relation to mail-in ballots. Despite these claims, evidence of widespread fraud remains elusive. Intriguing, isn't it? Let's dive deeper into these events. Before the election, former Attorney General William Barr raised concerns about mail voting being vulnerable to fraud. This was a significant claim, considering the increase in mail-in voting due to the pandemic. Barr suggested the possibility of mass counterfeiting of mail-in ballots, even going as far as to say that foreign countries could be involved. Moreover, he pointed out an instance of fraudulent ballots in Texas, which, as it turned out, was a bit of a miscommunication. The Justice Department had to step in and clarify that Barr's allegation was made in error. Despite this hiccup, Barr remained firm in his stance, though he was careful to separate his concerns from the unfounded allegations of a stolen election. Interestingly, he stated that he bears no responsibility for individuals who believe in widespread fraud, a claim that has been widely debunked by various sources. This brings us to an important point. Despite raising concerns about the potential for fraud in mail-in voting, Barr himself dismissed the idea of widespread fraud influencing the election results. A point that lends weight to the argument that while individual instances of fraud may occur, they do not impact the overall outcome of the election. Post-election, we saw a flurry of activity, with investigations and counter-accusations flying thick and fast. The Wisconsin Assembly, for instance, launched an investigation into allegations of voter fraud. The man leading the charge was none other than former state Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, a hire that stirred its own pot of controversy. However, the relationship between Gableman and Assembly Speaker Robin Vos soon soured, leading to Gableman's dismissal. The investigation cost over $1 million and faced criticism for its partisan nature and the extreme legal steps taken by Gableman. To add to the drama, there were lawsuits and revelations about Gableman's team probing the backgrounds of public employees. The investigation was eventually dropped, but not before it left a significant mark on the political landscape. Meanwhile, in the Lone Star State, Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick took a different approach. He offered a hefty reward of $1 million for reporting voter fraud. The irony, though, came when the first payout of $25,000 was made to a Democrat who reported a Republican for voting twice. Eric Frank, the recipient of the reward, used the money for a new home and charity. However, he couldn't help but feel the irony of the situation. Given that the reward was initially aimed at catching Democrats committing voter fraud, these events stirred up more controversy and left many wondering about the integrity of the election. Fast forward to today, the dust has settled, but the controversy remains. The debate over the alleged voter fraud in the 2020 election is still a topic of heated discussion. Despite the efforts to put the issue to rest, the embers of contention continue to glow, fanning the flames of discord across the nation's political landscape. Investigations into the allegations have been fraught with criticism and legal challenges. Take Wisconsin, for instance, where Assembly Speaker Robin Vos fired former state Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, who was hired to investigate the alleged fraud. The investigation, which cost over $1 million, faced widespread criticism for its partisan nature and the extreme legal measures taken by Gableman. The end of the probe came as a relief to many, but it has done little to quell the ongoing debate. In a similar vein, former Attorney General William Barr's pre-election comments about the vulnerability of mail voting to fraud continue to spark controversy. Despite his later condemnation of unfounded claims of a stolen election, his initial remarks left a lasting impression that continues to fuel the fire of suspicion. Even though the Justice Department clarified that some of his allegations were made in error, the damage was done. The controversy has also had a profound impact on future elections. The allegations have led to a wave of legislative efforts aimed at tightening voting regulations. Some see these measures as necessary to prevent future fraud, while others view them as attempts to suppress voter turnout. The debate over these new laws only adds to the contentious atmosphere surrounding the issue of voter fraud. Interestingly, the reward offered by Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick for reporting voter fraud ended up highlighting the irony of the situation. The first payout went to a Democrat who reported a Republican for voting twice. This incident underscores the complexity and divisiveness of the issue. While the controversy continues to simmer, the consensus is clear. There was no evidence of widespread fraud that could have changed the outcome of the 2020 election.